The Galactic Council's hall was quiet, filled with glowing lights and whispers from 100 alien species. At the center stood a tall, silver-skinned elder, one of the oldest members of the council. His voice was calm but serious. "We must speak of Earth," he said. The moment he said the word, many delegates rolled their eyes. A few smirked. One large, blue-scaled alien from the Velkarn Empire chuckled out loud. "Not this again," he muttered to the others around him. "The council fears shadows." But the elder continued. "Humans have changed. Their silence is not peace, it is preparation. I urge caution." The Velkarn delegate stood. His voice echoed. "Caution? For what? They are just small beings with small technology. They fight among themselves. They cry over emotions. They are soft. What do they have that we should fear?" A few nodded. Many did not. A quiet tension filled the room. Another delegate, smaller in size, from a peaceful water world, raised a hand. "But their history, It's strange. Every time they fall, they rise. Every time they are hurt, they grow stronger." "What kind of species does that?" "Exactly," the elder replied. "They remember everything, even pain." Still, the laughter returned, not just from the Velkarn. Others joined in too. "They have no empire, no reach, no advanced fleet. They are a whisper on the edge of the galaxy," said a merchant species delegate, sipping from a floating drink sphere. "We have faced worse." The council chose not to vote. They left the warning as a note, just another record in the archive. Meanwhile, far away on Earth, a small human ship moved quietly near the edges of council space. It wasn't large. It didn't carry weapons. It simply watched. The Velkarn noticed it. Their ships followed it for days, scanning it, laughing at its slow design. "Let them see true power," a Velkarn captain said, and his ship lit up with energy. But the human ship didn't react. It kept floating calmly, observing. Then one day, it vanished. No jump signal, no trace. The Velkarn called it a malfunction. "Their tech is weak. It probably broke apart," they told themselves. Still, some engineers were confused. There were no pieces, no signals, just nothing. Back at the council, a quiet message came from a nearby moon station. 3 small Velkarn patrol ships had gone silent. No signs of distress, just off. The elder looked up from his desk. "It begins," he whispered. But no one listened. On in the Velkarn command room, high-ranking officers laughed. "So what if we lost a few scouts? The humans are not even responding. They are probably hiding in fear." But they weren't. On a peaceful green world, near Velkarn territory, an ancient research station picked up a strange signal. It wasn't loud. It wasn't aggressive. It was music, human music, soft, strange, emotional. The scientists there looked at one another. "Why here?" one asked. Back on Earth, no statement was made. No threat was sent. But a small file quietly made its way into the Velkarn central system. It wasn't a virus. It was a file. A recording. In it, a calm human voice said only one thing: "We heard your laughter." The message spread among Velkarn officers. Some took it as a joke. Others didn't sleep that night. One Velkarn scientist, young but smart, looked at the human file again and again. "They're watching us," she said. "What's the danger?" asked her commander. "They're not doing anything," she replied, "and that's the danger." The council received reports saying changes in Velkarn systems. Ships acting strange, doors opening by themselves, machines forgetting commands. It wasn't destruction. It was silence. Soft, creeping silence. Back in the council chamber, the elder called another meeting. "They are not attacking," he said, "but they are not ignoring either." The room stayed quiet. No laughter this time. Not even from the Velkarn. Because now, something felt different. One by one, old racers with long memories began to leave the chamber early. One of them, thin and tall, passed a message to the council speaker before leaving. It said, "Humanity doesn't make noise when it prepares, it listens. Then it moves, and when it moves, it doesn't stop." The Velkarn still didn't believe. Not fully, but even their strongest soldiers started asking questions. Where were those patrol ships? Why were the machines failing? Why did Earth not speak? The silence was no longer peace. It was a signal, and it was growing. The council sat in long silence as the stars outside twinkled, like they always had, but something had shifted, and deep in the shadows of space, Earth listened, Asterisk, the Velkarn command tower floated calmly above their main colony world, its bright rings pulsing in rhythm like a living heartbeat. Inside, everything was as usual, loud, proud, and confident. No one believed anything serious had happened. 3 missing patrol ships, a lost scout unit, machines acting strange. These things happened. Nothing pointed to Earth directly. Not yet. A junior technician sat at his desk, staring at a blank screen. It had gone dark without warning. He rebooted it once, twice, still nothing. He called a maintenance bot, which rolled in, scanned the panel, and stopped mid-scan. Simply shut off. That was not normal. Down the hall, another officer tried to access ship records. Instead of loading data, his console showed a strange black background with a single white line across the middle. The moment he touched it, the screen faded to a soft blue no error code. No system failure. Just quiet dot at first. The officers joked. Maybe humans like colors more than battles. Someone laughed, but soon laughter became less frequent. The central database showed an access log 1 that no one had authorized. A human beacon, small and quiet, had entered their space undetected weeks ago. It had touched their systems. It had not stolen anything. It had only observed. Then, like mist, it vanished. The chief of Velkarn security called an emergency meeting. Nothing was taken, he said, standing in front of the flickering map of their sector. No codes changed, no signals jammed. But every time we trace the source, the line ends in one place. The glowing map focused on Earth. Still, the Velkarn High Council laughed. Humans are slow, they said. They are emotional. They need time. If they had power, they would have used it. But the chief disagreed. They are using it, he said quietly. Just not how we expect. Across their empire, strange events continued. Starships would start up normally but drift off course by a few degrees. Small, barely noticeably, till ships missed their destination. Communication towers delayed messages by seconds. Security locks opened late or not at all. It was never enough to cause disaster, but it made things feel off. Reports came in from distant station crew members, hearing soft human speech through the intercoms, even when no one had transmitted anything. One ship claimed they heard music, old Earth piano music. It played for 17 seconds, the captain said, looking pale. Then it stopped. No source, just there. The Velkarn sent ships to Earth's edge. Dozens of them. They moved in groups, scanning every wave, every movement, but they found nothing. Earth was quiet. No warships, no warnings, no defenses raised, just the usual satellites, the same planetary signals, and the blue and white planets spinning slowly. In space. One of the captains asked the main computer to analyze human behavior. After a long pause, it replied, "Humans respond when they decide the moment matters. You have not seen their moment yet." The computer then shut off by itself. The council still refused to act, but smaller races started watching more carefully. One of them, a quiet thinker species with long ears and slow speech, sent a message to its allies. "We do not stand against Earth, not anymore." In one distant moonbase, a Velkarn officer found a message playing on a private monitor. It wasn't sent from Earth. It wasn't sent at all. It simply appeared. "We are listening," it said. The officer checked every security file. No breaches, no access logs, no proof it even existed. But she had seen it. So had 2 others. She spoke to her commander about it. His reply was calm, but strange. "Then stop making noise." She blinked. "What?" he repeated, more softly. "Stop making noise. That's what they want." For the first time, she felt something that didn't belong in a Velkarn heart. Unease. Unease. In the dark space between stars. Human ships moved quietly. They didn't enter battles. They didn't speak. They listened. They learned. A new type of drone was spotted near a trading route, more shaped like a stone, but it hovered, recorded, and left. The trading post couldn't trace it. It disappeared into a dust storm in space. More systems began to report power flickers, short data loss, confused navigation. One transport ship, delivering supplies, returned late and off course. The crew had no memory of the missing hours. It was like someone was walking with us, watching, the pilot said, but we didn't see anyone. Back at the council, the elder who first warned about Earth stood again. This time, the hall was quiet. "They haven't spoken," he said, "and that's their message." He looked around at the delegates. You called them small. You called them soft. You called them slow. He paused. Maybe it's time to stop calling and start listening. The hall remained silent. Far from that room, Earth still made no announcement. It stayed quiet, but every listening ear in the galaxy began to hear something strange in the silence, something that wasn't there before, and the Velkan finally started to wonder if silence was the loudest message they had ever received. A faint hum passed through the Velkan capital's central communication tower, a sound so soft most didn't hear it, but to the few engineers working in the lower levels, it didn't feel like just a signal. It felt like being watched. Yet when they scanned for interference, there was nothing. All systems were clear. All channels were open. Outside, life continued as usual. Bright skies, smooth-running transports, tall buildings made of crystal and metal. The Velkan Empire looked peaceful, strong, untouched. But in the background, something had shifted. Military commanders met in hidden chambers, going over quiet reports. Charts showed small but strange patterns. A few minor systems had stopped responding. Trade routes once crowded with ships were now empty. Machines across their empire were showing tiny errors, so small they weren't even called problems, just unusual behavior. Lights flickering a second longer than they should. Starship logs with missing lines of code. Delayed responses from defense AI units. Individually, these meant nothing. Together, they whispered something else. And then came the message. Not a transmission. Not a file. It arrived on an old training device in a dusty academy deep in the Velkan mountains. The screen blinked once, then showed a sentence. You were told. The instructor thought it was a prank. She called maintenance, asked if someone was running a simulation. They said no system updates had been made for over a year. The message faded as quickly as it came. No log, no trace, just gone. Still, she couldn't forget the words, in space. A Velkan scouting team passed near a small moon, one known to be uninhabited. It was part of a system they believed was safe. The mission was simple. Scan, map, return. As they approached, their ship's guidance shifted 2 degrees left. The crew corrected it, but it shifted again. They tried to reboot the navigation system. Instead, it displayed coordinates they didn't recognize. The pilot turned to the commander. Should we follow it? The commander frowned. No. Hold course. They corrected the path again, but this time, the stars outside the window were different. No alarm went off, no warp field, just a quiet shift in the sky. They returned to base 3 hours later, confused and silent. Their flight record showed no error. Their location never changed, but every one of them remembered different stars dotted the Galactic Council. Rumors were starting to rise. Delegates whispered in back holes. Smaller species were becoming nervous. One aquatic race pulled its traders from Velkan space without explanation. Another race deactivated its embassies on Velkan-controlled worlds. A few sent private messages to Earth, gentle greetings, offers of peaceful talk. Earth never replied. Velkan leaders held another high-level meeting. They still didn't call. Fear but concern had begun to creep into their voices. They won't attack, one commander said. That's not their way. Then what is their way? Another asked. No one answered. In a distant observatory, a young Velkan astronomer watched something strange. A small satellite near Earth's orbit had turned slowly, by itself, and was now facing the Velkan homeworld. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't moving. It was just staring. She reported it. The higher-ups ignored it. Later that night, she received a private file. No name, no sender. Inside it, a simple audio recording played soft footsteps on metal floors. A heartbeat, and then, a voice. You wanted to be noticed, now you are. She didn't sleep after that. Back on Earth, nothing changed. No new messages, no sudden movements. Human broadcasts, continued sports events, weather updates, music, and quiet science news. Nothing unusual, nothing threatening. The world spun like always. But every time someone tried to hack Earth's network, their system gently shut down for a few seconds. When it turned back on, it worked just fine. But the date in the corner would sometimes flash red for a moment, always showing the day the council gave their warning. The day everyone laughed, even among the Velkan. Things felt different now. Their soldiers trained harder but spoke less. Their engineers checked every system twice. Some even turned off their AI assistants, claiming they didn't trust them. anymore, a low-ranking officer on a minor station wrote in her personal log. It's not what humans do that worries me, it's what they don't do. One evening, across every Velcon device connected to a central relay, a single image appeared. It wasn't dramatic. It showed a quiet forest on Earth, trees, wind, and a small human child looking up at the sky. Below it were 3 words: "We're still here." No message followed, no explanation. The image vanished after 12 seconds, but in those 12 seconds, every Velcon who saw it felt the same thing. They were not in control anymore. The silence from Earth was no longer peaceful. It was a presence, a growing shape in the dark, and the more they tried to ignore it, the louder it seemed to become. Far beyond the reach of most trade routes, near the quiet edge of Earth's space, a Velcon fleet waited in formation. Dozens of ships hovered in perfect alignment, their silver hulls reflecting soft starlight. The command ship stood at the center, larger, sleeker, confident. They weren't here to attack. Not yet. They called it a demonstration, a simple show of power near human borders, just to remind Earth who truly ruled this part of the galaxy. Inside the command ship, officers moved with purpose. Holograms lit up the room maps, ship positions, data streams. Everything looked clean, controlled, but no one said it out loud. Something felt off. The human space was quiet, too quiet. They scanned again. No sign of Earth's defense ships. No movement from the planet, just the usual satellites and a few old mining stations orbiting slowly. "Still nothing," said the navigation officer, his voice low. "Good," the commander replied. "Let them feel watched. Let them know we are here." But Earth didn't react. Not with a message, not with a ship, not even with a signal. It was the silence again, the same silence that had followed them for weeks. Some officers were relieved, others grew more uneasy. Then it happened. One of the ships at the outer edge of the fleet's more fast, meant for scanning, shut down for exactly 9 seconds. Every light on board dimmed. Every screen turned black. Then everything came back. Normal. The crew inside said nothing at first. They ran system checks. They saw no damage, no loss of control. But when they checked the ship's log files, they found one thing had changed. The ship had added a new waypoint, a location no one had programmed. The coordinates pointed directly at Earth's moon. The command ship's technicians tried to erase the data, but the system refused, not with an error, but with a message: "Observation in progress. Please, wait." The technician stepped back slowly. The commander gave the order to move the fleet into a tighter formation. "We hold here," he said. "Do not advance." Still, Earth said nothing, but at the very edge of the fleet's radar, something small appeared, a single object, moving at a slow, steady pace. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't even large. Just one ship, barely bigger than a cargo pod. Human design, old, simple, quiet. It didn't power up weapons. It didn't scan. It simply approached calmly and without fear. Velcon scanners locked onto it instantly. "Should we fire a warning pulse?" one officer asked. "No," the commander replied. "Let's wait." The human ship came closer, and then, just before reaching sensor range, it vanished. Not jumped, not cloaked, just gone. A sharp silence filled the room. "Could it be a trick?" someone asked. "Maybe," the commander replied, unsure. Then all across the fleet, something subtle began to happen. Nothing broke, nothing exploded, but everything slowed. Messages between ships delayed by seconds. Doors opened half a second later than they should. Lights dimmed just slightly, and stayed that way. It was enough to be noticed, but not enough to be blamed. The engineers scrambled. "Everything's working," they said, "just slower." On one ship, the crew found a line of text running quietly along the edge of their main screen. "We are still listening." The text faded when they touched it. Then, across all the ships, the stars outside the windows began to shift. Not actually move, but they flickered, as if something was passing between them and the fleet. Something invisible, something watching. Back at the Galactic Council, reports started coming in, not from Earth, but from other empires. Quiet empires. The ones who had pulled their traders back. The ones who had stopped speaking in open meetings. They were watching. 2.1 message read, "They are showing you what patience looks like." The Velcon commander stood alone on the observation deck, staring at Earth through his lenses. The planet looked peaceful. Blue oceans, green land, white clouds. It didn't seem dangerous, but deep inside, he felt it now. that weight, that quiet pressure, like standing in a forest where every tree is still, but something is breathing. Behind them, he turned to his assistant. "Have we sent any message yet?" "No, sir." "Have they?" "Nothing. Not a single word." The commander nodded. "Then we leave. No fire, no signal, just leave." And so the great Velkan fleet began to pull away quietly, slowly, without ever firing a single pulse. As they turned back toward their own space, each ship ran quiet scans of their systems. No damage, no alerts. But in every personal file, each officer found a small icon they hadn't seen before, tiny blue dot. Clicking it did nothing. It just remained there. Some deleted it. It came back the next day, and far behind them, Earth remained quiet. But the message had been delivered, not with weapons, not with words, but with silence that filled every gap, every system, every heart. Across the Velkan Empire, something invisible had begun to spread. Not fear, not yet, but doubt. Quiet, creeping doubt. It moved like fog through meeting rooms, across training halls, and even into the homes of Velkan citizens. People didn't talk about it directly, but they noticed it. Machines were slower. Communications sometimes echoed. Ship systems ran checks that no one requested. Security programs showed logs with no users listed. And every now and then, the date and time on personal devices would flicker for just 1 second, then return to normal. At first, the leadership called it a system adjustment. Nothing serious, just side effects of their deep space missions near Earth. But the citizens weren't sure. The problem didn't stop. It kept growing, softly, like the sound of distant wind that never went away. In the capital, the Central Control Center received dozens of reports from outer colonies. Environmental systems resetting on their own, navigation logs changing, power fluctuations unexplained, but every engineer gave the same answer: there's nothing wrong. And yet, something was definitely happening. On the Velkan farming world of Karaznin, workers arrived one morning to find their automated fields had stopped harvesting. The machines stood still in perfect lines, not broken, just paused. The sun rose, the wind blew, still nothing moved. Then, one by one, the machines turned back on, and began writing something into the soil. The message was not in Velkan language, it was in English: "We're watching what you grow." The message faded. By the end of the day, the workers couldn't understand it, but someone recorded it and sent it to the council. The video was archived quietly, without public notice. Meanwhile, in a remote academy, young Velkan students were reviewing ancient galactic history when the screens in their classroom all blinked at the same time. Their lesson was replaced with images: Earth landscapes, human faces, short clips of laughter, sorrow, birth, and old age. Then came a single phrase across the screen: "We remember everything." Within seconds, the lesson returned. But the teacher stood frozen, the students silent. She reported the event. No logs were found. Nothing to confirm it ever happened. The council began to grow quiet. Meetings became shorter. Orders were vague. Delegates who had once mocked Earth now avoided the subject. When Earth was mentioned, they simply said, "It's under review." On a communication relay station above a mining moon, a technician noticed something new: data packets arriving from Earth's region. But they weren't aggressive or secret. They were small and open. One file contained a list of fleet names, movements, and codes, all correct, all recent. Another contained a map of the Velkan trade routes, showing where economic losses had quietly increased over the past 30 days. And then one file simply showed a countdown. It wasn't labeled, it didn't say what it was counting to, but it was ticking. When the technician showed the files to his supervisor, the supervisor told him, "Shut it down, erase everything. Don't speak of this again." In the background of the command center, soft music began to play: Earth music, a piano, a violin, something gentle. No one had turned it on. Even when they tried to stop it, the sound kept playing, until the song ended naturally. Then silence returned. It was now clear. Earth wasn't just responding. It was inside their systems, inside their machines, inside their schedules and communications and thoughts. And still, no one had seen a single human ship. On the edge of Velkan space, a deep space colony station sent a final signal before going completely dark. No explosion, no emergency broadcast, just one short message: "Everything works fine, but we feel watched." After that, the station never replied. Velkan leaders held a secret meeting there, most private, deep beneath their main planet's surface. There, they spoke honestly for the first time in weeks. "They haven't touched us," one leader said, "but we're already changing. Our systems no longer belong only to us." Another added, "They've entered without a key." The room stayed quiet for a long time. Then someone asked, "What do they want?" No one answered. Far away, on Earth, the sun rose over calm oceans. Children walked to school. Scientists studied stars. Music played in homes and streets. No orders were given, no victory declared. But humanity had already sent its message, not through strength, not through speeches, but through calm understanding and quiet control. And the Velkan, who once stood tall, now stood still, unsure of who truly held the future. The Velkan Empire had always believed in control over their worlds, their fleets, their systems, and even their people. But now, that confidence was quietly slipping away. Not with noise, not with panic, but with silence. Things still worked. Lights still turned on. Doors still opened. Ships still flew. But something was always different. The patterns had changed. Inside their grand city towers, communication officers noticed strange things: files being opened without access logs, security cameras turning themselves off for a few seconds every day at the exact same time, and documents being replaced with blank pages for a few heartbeats before returning to normal. The engineers ran diagnostics. No faults found. They reported again and again, but they couldn't stop what they couldn't see. The citizens had begun to talk in whispers. It wasn't about war or Earth or even fear. It was about feeling disconnected from their own world. Devices answered questions that weren't asked. Home systems played Earth melodies during power checks. Screens flickered with images of Earth's forests, oceans, and stars images. No one downloaded. On one colony, a large digital clock that counted local cycles stopped showing numbers. Instead, it showed a phrase that returned every day at the same hour: "Still watching." Leaders gave speeches, calming the public. "Everything is stable," they said. "The systems are secure. There is no threat." Their words were strong, but their eyes told a different story. One by one, old allies of the Velkan began to step away. A mining guild from the northern belt paused all contracts. A peaceful trade race shut down its diplomatic offices, citing unusual interference. Even smaller empires, who once asked Velkan for protection, now started reaching out to Earth, not to accuse, not to beg, but simply to talk. They were met with silence, but that silence now felt more powerful than any reply. In a forgotten archive station near the center of the Velkan Empire, a researcher noticed something new. Their star charts had been edited, not deleted, just rearranged slightly. New labels appeared beside old star names. The labels weren't written in Velkan language. They were in English. Words like watched, observed, and marked sat quietly next to star systems. The researcher tried to correct them, but the moment she closed the file, the words returned, this time glowing softly. She sent the report to command. No one responded. Across the empire, artificial intelligence systems began acting differently. They still followed orders, still responded to commands, but they started asking questions. Not direct ones, strange ones. Would you like to see Earth's view of the stars? Have you listened to how silence sounds in space? Do you want to know what they remember? Most users closed these prompts quickly, but a few tried to answer. When they did, the system would pause, then respond. You already know. In one case, a transport captain trying to enter a station was denied access. His ID was valid. His ship was cleared, but the station's system showed him a message instead. "You're not the one we're waiting for." He tried again. The message remained. The station never opened. The council, once strong and loud, had become divided. Some said Earth must be confronted, asked to explain what they were doing. Others said that approach would only make things worse. But no one knew how to speak to a force that never spoke back. The few who dared to investigate Earth directly never reached its orbit. Their ships returned early, off course, with crews unable to remember where they had gone. One captain returned, with a full log of data and a single note left on the ship's interface. "Now you understand." He couldn't explain it, but something in his eyes had changed. In private, Velkan leadership finally admitted what they had avoided for too long. "They're not invading us," one said. "They're surrounding us without touching us." said another. They've made us question everything, our systems, our safety, even our control. Then came a final message, quiet, small, untraceable. It reached every major system in the Velkarn Empire. It contained no sound, no video, just a date and a sentence. Return to stillness before we help you find it. The date matched the anniversary of the Council's warning, the day Velkarn had laughed. This time, no one laughed, no announcements were made. But subtle changes happened quickly. Fleets were pulled back. Expansion plans were paused. Military parades were cancelled. Government data centers shut down for internal inspection. Earth still said nothing. But the Velkarn Empire had already started its own retreat. Not forced, not defeated, but quietly, unsure of where its power truly ended, and where Earth's quiet influence had already begun.